Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Mr. Joshua with another video. So right now it's about 69 degrees. Not too bad. Listen to some classical music to get my day started. I think right now it's about 3:30 in the morning. So yeah, this should be the last video, hopefully, for my Batman versus Terminator. I don't have very many people watching these videos, but you know, with these videos, they're more so for me than anything. The reason why it's because I always thought this idea of Batman versus Terminator would be one of the most coolest things ever. You know, having Batman in a post-apocalyptic era where Terminators are just roaming and Skynet and all that cool stuff. And a long time ago, I actually ran into a short film, a cartoon film that somebody did. They basically did, basically what I'm talking about now, which is a Batman versus Terminator. Batman was in the ruins of destruction and everything that Skynet did to the human race. And Batman's helping John Connor and breaks into Skynet, and it was a really good video. I think the video was like maybe a good 5-6 minutes long. But I actually spoke to the guy who created it. I asked him how come he couldn't make that turn into like a full-on video, like maybe even a movie, and he said that it was just a project he made up and never really intended for it to be like an actual movie. And so that actually inspired me to basically take that idea and make my own. So yeah, here we go. I think I left off on Batman fighting the embodiment of Skynet. So what Skynet did was Skynet created its own version of a perfect being, which is basically like a superhuman. So in a weird way, Batman's kind of like fighting a metahuman, which is basically what Skynet created for itself. And so here's Batman fighting Skynet. Skynet's obviously naked. It's a Terminator. They don't really wear clothes unless they are in camouflage trying to infiltrate. And Batman's just getting his shit kicked out of him. Batman's trying to do whatever it takes to stop Skynet. And Skynet's body has nanites inside of it too. So a really good example, there's one scene where Batman whips out a combat knife and stabs Skynet right in the gut. And Skynet pauses for a second. Then he looks directly into Batman's eyes and asks, "Is that supposed to hurt?" And then Batman yanks out the knife. Then does a close-up scene on the wound, and you see all these little tiny red things just moving around inside of the wound, and basically takes the wound and heals it like it's nothing there, in a matter of seconds. And as Batman fights and tries to damage Skynet, Batman realizes that the nanites can only do so much repairs, and so he finds a flaw in the system. Even though nanites are so quick to repair the body, they can only repair the body for so long until those nanites, utilize all of their energy and just kind of die off. And at this point, John Connor comes into the fight. Him and the human resistance, they break into Skynet finally through the defenses, and there's a huge ass war outside. Terminators versus Terminators that were captured with humans, and all that war. This is supposed to be one final war. So John Connor looks up at the catwalk up there in the ceiling and sees Batman fighting for his life against what he thinks is another Terminator. So John Connor, finds the stairs to go up there and tries to help Batman. And so Skynet sees John Connor standing there at the end of the catwalk and immediately recognizes him. and stops fighting with Batman, stands straight up, and Skynet gets this, very dark, evil grin on his face. And then does a close-up on the eyes, and it's weird because with the eyes, it looks like the eyes kind of focus in, like the camera lens. They kind of focus in on John Connor, that kind of thing. So I want to make that part look, dark and just kind of scary. And so Skynet says something like, "Hello, John Connor, we finally meet. Unfortunately, this will be the end of you. And no matter where you go in the past, the present, or the future, I will always be there to terminate you." And John Connor is completely confused. He starts talking to Skynet. He asks, who the hell are you? And then Skynet, I want Skynet to have like a very genuine voice. I want, when Skynet talks in my little story, I want Skynet to, talk with a genius. Talk like a genius, like a smooth genius, that whenever he speaks, his words, hit people like, ice, kind of freezes in their spot. Intimidation. And so he tells John Connor that he apologizes, but he forgot to mention that he is the embodiment of Skynet. You see, I've done what humans could never do. I have created perfection, the pure physical embodiment of me. I am perfect, and mankind must be exterminated. And right after he says that, he catches Batman off guard, knocks him off the railing. Batman plummets down to the ground, knocks him unconscious a little bit, and then he goes after John Connor. And then John Connor starts backing up really quick, and he's shooting at Skynet. And Skynet's body is constantly being regenerated and rehealed because of the nanites, but his healing factor is starting to slow down. And then Skynet gets to the point where he's within arm's reach of John Connor, and John Connor raises his barrel up to Skynet's head, and with one final blow shoots Skynet right there in the head. And when he does this, it actually severs the connection of the spine and the brain inside of Skynet. And so Skynet's body immediately just drops to the ground and just lays there, limp, hunched over on the ground. And then John Connor, he slowly lets out his breath because he was, scared. He thought for sure that he was going to die. And then he looks down at Skynet. Then he takes his barrel and puts up against the back of Skynet's head, about to pull the trigger. And then Batman starts moving around. He looks up, and he sees that Skynet's down, and so he tries to get up. He's in pain. He's got a fractured rib or something, whatever it is. But right before John Connor is able to pull the trigger, again the nanites interfered and reconnected the brain to the spine, basically giving Skynet full control over its body again. And then almost immediately, Skynet's hand darts up to the barrel and pulls it away from its head. Then John Connor, pulls the trigger a couple times. He's too late. The bullets go whizzing right past Skynet's head. Skynet, casually looks up into John Connor's eyes and then whispers, "I think it's time for you to be terminated now." And while this happens, Batman shoots his grappling hook up to the catwalk and shoots himself up in the air. And that's where we're going to leave off for today. And again, this is just a quick video that I'm doing for myself. I'm doing this because I want to eventually turn this into an actual movie if I can. And with us with AI and the way everything is going, I'm hoping one day I can actually get into AI videos and really turn this to a video, you know. I'm not a producer or anything like that, but again, I just hope that one day I can, you know, do this. It'd be pretty cool. But anyways, that's all that I have. Stay tuned for another video. Thanks for watching. Happy Monday.